Welcome, everybody. It is week 2 of season 4 of our Women of Fantasy podcast. Yes, the WOFF Podcast is off and running. We had an amazing first week. Kelly Singh got to sit down with former Raiders CEO and current CBS analyst Amy Trask. And this week, we got I don't want to say even better guests, but great guests as well. And we're starting off with not an analyst. And I love this part because we're getting to know the women in this community. And we're kicking it off with Hope Meyers. You can find her on Twitter at @Hope77. Faith and Kelly are rocking this. We are so ready, and we're giving away even more raffles. And we have a huge announcement after that, and I'm so excited to share this. Stay tuned.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the WOFF Podcast, Season 4, Episode 2. I am excited to be back. This time last week, I was on an airplane headed to the okay state of Ohio, where a lot of us, including the 3 people you are staring at right now, got to hang out and have fun and experience the camaraderie that is the Fantasy Football Expo. Kelly, welcome. Hope,
hello.
Welcome.
I also enjoyed the okay state of Ohio.
I started to say great, but then I was like, let's not overdo it here. It's an okay state.
It was fun.
It was fun.
As I like to say, referring to myself in certain states, she had a good time.
You know, I think that statement could be said for myself as well. And I would say probably Hope, but I don't want to assume. So Hope, did you have a good time at the expo?
I had a fucking sick time. Sick time. I still barely can speak. I never spoke so much in my life. I lost my voice. I'm still hungover. I'm drinking to fix it. I don't know if I'm fixing anything, but it was worth everything. I'm going back. Back to Ohio.
Back to Ohio. It's really the one main reason to go to Ohio. Unless you have family there. Other than that,
frizzy.
What's in Ohio?
It was frizzy weather.
It was frizzy weather, but being residents of Florida, it wasn't as frizzy as home. And I was having this conversation with Casey Kasem, who lives in Texas, and Stacy Perez, who also lives in Florida with us. It's like, it was humid, but it wasn't as humid as home. So we felt bad about complaining, but we were still complaining because it was still humid. And it's like, I don't know how to act right now.
It's frizzy in this closet right now.
I mean, the fact that your background is blurred kind of is just giving like frizzy vibes. So it's a vibe, Kelly.
For help.
It's a frizzy vibe.
Do I need to call Matt to come rescue you from the closet?
Blink twice if you need help.
So I don't think I told you this. Real quick, side story. Mr. Scampers, it was so good seeing you again in Ohio. Putting a face to the name. Sadly, wasn't a cat for all of you out there. Spoiler alert. Sad. So I saw Matt when you guys got to the party Friday night, and he stopped me and he said, "I miss you in the office." And I was like, "Why?" He goes, "I need somebody who gets me. Nobody gets me." I'm like, I don't know how to take that because Matt Walsh is a delightful human being, but Matt Walsh lives on like
Matt Walsh Island
at all times. On a scale of 1 to 10, Matt is a 15 at all times. But he is fun when you need some energy.
It's true.
It is true. So last week, Kelly did something brand new. She had an interview with Amy Trask, with just Amy Trask. There was one guest for the whole hour, which is something that we haven't done in a while. And it was just kind of a one-on-one thing. And here we are continuing with new things and bringing in not only content creators and female content creators and female in sports, but now we have the added fun of bringing in some content consumers. And our first is Ms. Hope. How are you, Hope?
I'm doing good, thank you.
So, have you, I know you're still trying to catch up on sobriety, but you're just throwing in that towel because it's like hair of the dog. How has life been since coming back from the expo? Have you been able to like fall right back into everything, or are you like?
I don't want to work. I don't want to work at all. I feel like, I think we all feel this way. It was such like a warm, fun, just feeling like we came home and like you still want to be in it. Like you don't want to go back to what you were doing. You just want to stay in that beautiful vibe of all that delicious football and fun. I say it was like spring break football on crack.
That's a great analogy.
What is spring break football?
Plus football, plus crack.
There we go. I just woke up from a nap, so like my brain still isn't quite caught up to everything going on. My flight got in late Monday. We were delayed, and I woke up at some point. I don't think I got to bed until like 2 a.m. And my alarm went off at 7 to go to work. Spoiler, didn't end up going. But halfway between falling asleep and my alarm going off, I woke up and needed to go to the restroom. But when I woke up, I was kind of like out of it still. And I looked around and I was like, this doesn't look like my hotel room. Where am I? And then I was like, oh, wait, I'm home. That's where I am.
You were in a closet. Oh,
no, that's me. You, Kelly.
Hope, yeah.
Go ahead, Kelly.
I mean, it was so great to meet you in person. After engaging on Twitter, you have been so kind. And then when we talked in person, you were so kind and just sharing your stories with me. And even just we're planning a trip apparently now.
Yes, girls trip.
It's become a thing. And so I'm really glad, as Faith mentioned, to have you on here. And this is about you. It is not about me being in a closet or Faith waking up at home. We want to know about Hope now.
I feel honored. I'm right now. I feel totally like verklempt and honored.
Verklempt.
Seriously,
such a great word.
I'm verklempt. I'm just verklempt. I don't even know
what you guys can't see is Josh Hudson in the background dying of laughter.
Well, you know what? We're going to ask some pretty obvious questions, but I think that is what this interview is about. We want to get to know the women in our community, and everybody's story is not the same. I mean, some of us have a lot of similarities, but we want to know. I'm going to jump right in with the most obvious question of them all. How did you get into fantasy football?
Okay. Well, I've been into football since I'm a little girl. My dad coached football. He owned sporting goods stores. Humble brag of 1972 when I used to go with the Miami Dolphins on my boat. Stuff like this has kept me in the whole football thing forever. But the fantasy part, so I got really lucky and met my beautiful husband about 10 years ago. And on one of our very first dates, we were watching Sunday football. We were at my house, and he says to me, do you mind, can I put something up on the computer? I need to watch my fantasy team. I go, what is that? He goes, it's my fantasy team. I've been in this league for like 25 years with, Lee and la, la, la. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
So he puts it up. And I'm like cheering for him, for Marcus Colston, jumping up and down every time he says that he is to get a score. And I was flipping obsessed. The next year I was in. The next year I had my own league. I mean, I was in. I was hooked.
I love that.
I used to go.
Awesome.
I used to go by myself because I had friends that didn't want to watch like certain. In Florida, we didn't get every game on the TV, so I would go by myself to sports bars just to watch Brett Favre. I was a major Brett Favre freak, and I would go and I would make my family, like especially when they were in the playoffs, I would go and just sit by myself to the sports bars just to watch all the football I could get.
I can relate to
awesome.
this. How long ago did you say this was?
10 years ago.
10 years ago. That's fun.
But you did mention the 1972 Dolphins, which as a Patriots fan still kind of stings because
that's your team?
Stupid Eli Manning. We should have been the 1972 Dolphins, but in like 2008. But then Eli Manning happened and we just don't talk about that game. But I actually happen to know one of the cheerleaders from the 72 Dolphins.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
And they all get together once a year during the season and all cheer together at a game from 72 Dolphins, like from 72 on, which is super awesome because you have women who are in their 60s still out there cheering because alumnus, which is super awesome. So you are a content consumer. You are a content supporter. You are a supporter of all of us. Is there a certain article or a certain podcast or a certain content creator that you have to listen to or read or just absorb everything from week to week? Like, your week's not complete if you haven't listened or read X.
Okay, so you ready to hear the neuroticness of me?
Yes. Kelly and I are here for it because we are both neurotic.
So I work at home, and I'm lucky enough to work at home, and I turn on Sirius XM fantasy football, turn it on at 7 a.m. when I wake up, and I do not turn it off. I leave it on in case I miss something. My husband's like, do I hear something still, Hope? Can you just turn it off now? And so I listen to everybody. And I read everything, but listening to everybody and everybody's takes, my head's going to explode because some people love, some people hate the same person. And no one really has the same take on anything. So listening to everything, you're like, well, I don't even know. So you kind of, at the end of the day, which is really good, is you go with your own thoughts and what you believe and what you feel is what actually I do at the end. But I listen to everybody. I listen to everybody. I read everything on Twitter. I love it. I mean, I chime in. Sometimes people don't love what I say, but I have my stuff that I like to say to everybody, and I love that.
To be fair, sometimes people don't love what Kelly or I have to say either, so
I don't pay attention. Do people not like what I have to say sometimes?
So you were saying that you'll turn on Sirius XM Fantasy and just listen to it all the time, and your husband is like, okay, can we be done now? So does your husband regret the monster he created? Because to be fair, this is all on him.
I don't think so. I think I have a husband. I'm very, very lucky that if I'm happy, he's happy. And he knows that football is my favorite thing, like next to music. Football and music are like my two favorite things. So he lets me be, he lets me listen all day. He knows I'm neurotic. He knows that, to stay away from me when I'm in a bad mood, when my teams are losing, and especially when my fantasy teams are losing, I get violent. He knows to go away from me, that I'm not going to be happy. But he's good. He's good.
That's awesome. So, another one of our favorite females in fantasy football and in this space that we got to meet this past weekend was Bonnie, Fantasy Queen Bee, and she wants to know. She's calling you out. Like she wants you to name names.
Okay.
Who is your favorite analyst?
Gosh.
And nobody will get their feelings hurt. It's okay.
Okay. I have one.
Unless you say Josh, and then we can't handle that.
I have one. I have to say that I like funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like funny. And I like funny smart.
So Joe Zolo, but not Josh Hudson. Got it.
So I think John Hansen has to be my number one because he's smart, silly, funny. Makes me laugh. So I guess that I think has to be my number one.
That's fantastic.
I just looked at the comment.
Oh, from this one here? Mark Andrews, what you have to say, Kelly?
Mark Andrews loves what I have to say.
He is so hot.
You know, I secretly feel like
he doesn't know it, but he is.
No, my secret hope is that he does know it. Like does a search on his name to see what people are saying about him, and it's like, oh, it's her.
Oh, it's her. All right. Well, in that case, Mark Andrews, if you have Googled your name and have found this clip and you are watching, feel free to slide into Kelly's DMs. They are open for you, Mark Andrews, at Kelly in Phoenix. All right.
Now
Kelly,
I need to know from Hope, because Mark Andrews is clearly off the market, who is your NFL football crush?
So I would say my top three guys, I have like three that I find pretty sexy.
Is one of them Jimmy Garoppolo?
No.
Oh, he's pretty sexy.
No. He's not my type. He's too
pretty.
He's too not even that. He's too porn starry. He's too
I agree.
He's too I don't know. I don't even think he should be a quarterback. I think he should just go be with porn stars somewhere. Personally, I like Josh Allen because he's just sexy, just sexy. I like Jalen Hurts because I think he's sexy too, and I like third. I just went blank because I'm so tired. The blondie with the long hair.
Trevor Lawrence?
No.
Trevor Lawrence? Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
No, not Trevor Lawrence. Herbert.
Oh yeah, Justin Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
I like those things. See how my taste is completely different?
That is a very vast array of men.
That is.
That's me.
To be fair, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is pretty to look at, but he's not my type to date. I also think Travis Kelce is pretty to look at, but not my type to date. They're too fit. It's just not my thing.
Kelce's got a really good personality. He gets you going, but I don't know. He's not my type either.
See, this is why Josh Allen is tolerable, because he also kind of sort of has the dad bod working for him, because he's not completely toned and muscular. So this is tolerable.
I like that though.
Zach is not wrong here.
I like that though.
But Carrington has a controversial question, and before Josh puts it up, I'm just going to need you to prepare yourself. And if you know the answer to this, we're going to need you to be honest, because we are nothing if not honest at Women of Fantasy Football. Mm-hmm. So Carrington wants to know who is behind Fantasy Receipts.
I don't know. That's really
Hope don't it's just you, me, and Kelly talking. There's nobody else around. Don't worry about who's listening. It's just girl talk. You can tell us. It's okay. It's totally fine.
It's Hope.
I knew it. It's her husband.
Do you guys know?
No. I have no clue. I've interacted with I've got a couple DMs with them, and apparently I know who runs it, but like I don't know if that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
I've
I
had
don't know.
interactions with the person that runs it, but I don't know that it's them.
Now that this is a question that has been asked to me, you know that later, that I have to now figure this out. So I will get back to whoever it is that asked me this question, and I will 100% give an answer tomorrow.
It was Carrington, and he also wants you to know that he's a dude, and Josh Allen is still daddy to him. So
Hell yeah.
Josh Allen as daddy is gender neutral.
Yep.
Hope Rachel wants to know, what kind of league setting is your favorite to play?
So I'm definitely not boring, because I'm not boring at all, but I really do like just a normal redraft, like a typical one quarterback redraft where I don't have to think, because I'm in so many different leagues. I'm in Dynasty, I'm in Superflex. Just give me something easy, like my home league. It's just one quarterback, easy going, not so crazy. Not everyone's brilliant. Redraft, good.
It's so nostalgic of you.
Yeah. It just makes it light.
I feel that. So we were talking about the expo earlier. Is there one interaction or meeting or event that happened that just stands out as like the highlight of your trip?
Okay, I loved Hoove and Draft Night Out. He is a freaking rock star. That guy, he made it beautiful. The way he was fluttering around it, and I loved him. He's beautiful. Loved him.
Every time, I feel like every time I saw Hoove, he was wearing a different outfit.
I love that.
That's a true story.
I'm a fashion designer. Maybe that's why I loved Hoove too.
Scampers coming in hot.
Sandra Bullock. I don't know.
Maybe.
Speechless right now.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I want to know how Sandra Bullock got roped into this, but I think that's another episode for another day.
I do too. I think that could be a whole episode.
Agreed.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
All right.
I want to ask a question now.
Yes.
I want to know. We talked with these are all going to be softballs. This is going to be. I want you to show me. Okay. This is very softball-y. Do not take this as a hard hitting question. It can be the very easiest reply. Give us a take that you stand by, like you will die on this football hill this season.
Okay, that David Montgomery will outscore Jahmyr Gibbs. There you go.
That is spicy.
There you go.
I like it. Okay, you guys, that was I was not prepared. I was not prepared for that one.
My goodness.
I mean, this closet is hot, but now I'm like, oh boy.
All right. We are all in the fabulous tournament that is the one and only Scott Fish Bowl.
Yep.
So Hope, what league are you in and why did you choose it?
I chose Mellow Yellow because that's exactly why I choose Mellow Yellow. When I was looking through, and the league that I liked, that it got filled up in a second, was the one from Breaking Bad, like the
Los Pollos Hermanos.
Yeah, because I like that shirt, so I was like, okay, I buy that shirt. I have actually the real shirt, so that one was filled. So then I was like scrolling around. I'm like, oh, Mellow Yellow, and I've been singing it. I mean, I've been singing that damn song. But I picked Mellow Yellow because of the song, truthfully.
That's amazing.
And singing it.
Josh, you should know how my brain operates at this point. You say words, they translate into songs in my head. And then you put me next to the karaoke songstress over here. So it's going to happen. It is bound to happen.
Is she going to sing Mellow Yellow?
I kind of did. I just had to showcase this comment from Carrington.
Oh boy, I see what you did there.
Which is funny because that's what Josh said.
I did not see what he did there. Oh my goodness. My goodness.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
This has been a fun interview. I don't know if we've had one this fun.
I'm glad. I like to have fun. That's like my thing.
These are hard-hitting questions.
Hard-hitting questions.
Musical lineup.
One.
Is there an animal? Did I see that there was an animal running around when I?
There's multiples.
Yeah, I have a few dogs. They're both.
She disappeared.
Oh, you can see, but they're both laying on the floor by me because they follow me everywhere. So they're children. Yeah, they're
your mama's babies.
They're on the floor waiting for me to go back. They won't go back until I go back.
So I think it's safe to assume for anybody who either A, met you at the expo this past weekend, or B, is watching this interview, you're a Dolphins fan. How did you become a Dolphins fan?
I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan as well. I was born in Philly.
Josh is fist bumping in the background.
And we did this. We did this thing too. We have this thing. Moved when I was young here, and then I became a Dolphins fan ever since.
Interesting.
It's been hard being a Dolphins fan. It's been hard.
I can relate. I mean, at least this year with the Cardinals, but
oh, you're a Cardinals fan?
Well, yeah, I've lived in Phoenix my whole life, and then I adopted the Ravens. I like purple.
And also Mark Andrews.
And Mark Andrews came along like 5 years later, and I'm like, even more reason. Yeah. So I get it. Being part of a fandom that's, not performing super well can be difficult. But I will say, and I don't know if this is along the same lines as the Dolphins, but the Cardinals getting a new staff, bringing in fresh new players, new blood, and kind of being that underdog. They have this like new energy and this whole cool vibe, and winning the first preseason game, and the defense really being like hungry. It was fun. It's like an amazing vibe right now for the Bird Gang. And I don't know if it was like that for the Dolphins. Maybe when you guys picked up Tua, for instance, did that like reinvigorate? I don't know.
When we got Tyreek
Hill, that probably did the same. Like
between Tyreek and Waddle, like getting them 1 year and then 1 year and then whoa, we have like this fast as fuck. I didn't mean to say that. I don't like to curse. I mean, I like to curse. I don't want to be cursing too much, but yeah. So I love our team now. Right now, it's great.
Yeah, there's just something about when there's fresh new blood and there's just this energy that it doesn't matter if the team's been terrible. It makes everything better and fun again.
Do you draft Cardinals?
I do, because in fantasy, I feel like it's the player and the player's skill set. It doesn't matter if the team is going to win or lose. Is it your first, like is Marquise Brown your wide receiver one? No. But shoot, if he's not a flex option on my bench. So, yeah.
I love him.
James Conner, how do you not pick up James Conner as a flex? So,
yep. And love him too.
Hope you brought up Tyreek Hill earlier. Dynasty Deviant wants everybody to know that you scared him and battled his ex's 23, so he didn't draft Tyreek Hill. And he claims it's because you said you were feeling violent.
Yes. Absolutely. I was getting violent. I get violent when people take my players.
I love how you have no shame in that. It was kind of like when Kelly and I were drafting Saturday morning in the Queens Classic and somebody would take our player there was a lot of yelling at each other from across the room, and I would pop into the Kings Classic drafts, and it was like so quiet, and everybody was like especially the room next to us, they were like, "You guys are so loud," and we're like, "We're having fun."
Fun.
Like, you walked into those rooms, and it was like you could hear a pin drop, and I'm like, "You guys are boring." I'm like,
Yeah, no.
girls.
That wouldn't work for me.
No, we had a grand old time. Carrington wants to know, how many leagues is too many leagues?
I'm in too many. 9. It's too many.
I am in 6, which I think is a good place for me. Kelly, how many is too many for you?
Well, last year I had 27.
Good God Almighty.
I have cut it down to 19.
That's good.
And I am gonna have I wanted to be at 8, and somehow that doubled.
Plus 3.
Plus some. Math is not my strong suit.
Mine either.
Zach here quoting Mean Girls when he says the limit does not exist.
Does not.
I think that's wrong.
I just, yeah. So our good friend Kira is in like 40 something, I think. And I'm like, so when I say how many leagues is too many leagues, to me, best ball doesn't count because once you draft,
No.
you're done. Leagues is like things that I have to pay attention to every week. And I think my max one year was 13. And I was like, no, I cannot do this anymore.
It takes a spread. Well, for me, it takes a spreadsheet. And it takes a lot of time. So it takes some of the fun out of it for me a little bit.
Yep.
So that's why I've been trying to pare down. I hope that this season is a little bit more fun by paring it down. I think, Hope, you're in like the perfect amount of leagues.
I agree.
Yeah, it's good, but like when you have to do the waivers and all, like it becomes like you got to look at everyone. Like, thank God, almost all of them are on Sleeper.
Yeah, that's helpful.
It makes it easier being on Sleeper. That way, you just go. But it's like you're thinking, like, it just takes a lot of like your brain starts hurting. And then do you guys? When you guys do your waivers, like, is it hard for you to sleep that night? Like, do you wake up like in the middle of the night wondering if you got your players like I do?
No.
I'm insane. I'm seriously neurotic and insane.
Unless I absolutely have to, I don't hit waivers because
no, I use them.
Like
I'm just like, wake up in the morning and be like, surprise! Oh, that's fun. Or
yeah.
And then if I don't get them, I probably wouldn't even have remembered that I put in a waiver. So
yeah.
Like I said, I'm a little neurotic.
So Gator says he doesn't feel great about it, but is 34 too many? I think yes. If you ask this room, yes, 34 is entirely way too many.
I mean, if you're able to manage them and you enjoy it, then go for it. Maybe it's not too many for you, but it becomes a chore for me at some point, and then I don't want to disappoint my league mates. And
Mauricio, hola, amigo. It was fun seeing him and Hannah this weekend.
We danced to Bitty Bitty Bum Bum.
Yes, they did great with that.
It was fun.
All right, Josh wants you to set up your dream league. Hope, give us your settings, give us your roster build, give it to us.
A dream league.
She kind of already did that a little bit.
It would definitely be redraft for sure. I would.
The theme, Hope. The theme.
Oh, a theme. A theme.
Should have been a little bit more clear the first time, Joshua.
Theme of a league that I would like.
I feel like you.
I guess I could do like a hot guy league. Just pick the hottest guys and just have them all on my team.
Did you say hot guy or hot guy?
Hot guy. Hot guy league. That's it. That's my theme. Hot guy league. That way they're all.
And then
Okay, but
you
if
can
you have
like
all of
go
the hot guys, then
through.
who are supposed to play on our teams?
Well, they need to have like everybody's like all the player photos. I will say
But
whatever
not the
tool.
photos from fan draft that we used on
Fan draft
Saturday.
photos were the
They were
worst
terrible.
photos I had ever seen in my life of the players. So we could not use that platform for
They
the
were
Hot Guy League.
Awful.
It has to be updated pictures.
Like their best headshots.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or body
Like-
shots.
Or
butt
body
shots. Butt shots.
Body shots. That's a whole different thing, Hope.
It could be a
They're
mixture.
That involves
If
alcohol.
their body is better than their head, it could be a body shot. It's fine. It's fine with me.
You know, this is not far off from a pitch that I was working with a brand on for
Oh,
developing head-to-head tournaments. So I like where this is going. Now it's almost like I have social proof to be like, okay, this is gonna work.
exactly.
Off the
So
rails.
everybody's coming up with some names
The Meat
for
Sweats
our for your Hot Guy League. Zach suggested the Meat Sweats League. I can
The force skins.
the force.
Oh my god.
Yes,
This is-
Jason. This is indeed off the rails. This is indeed off the rails. Lord have mercy.
Get a bunch of girls together.
That's what happens.
Yep.
It would be an auction league, though.
That would be fun. Definitely an auction league. For sure. I'd have no money left.
Right?
I would have like 3 players and that would be it.
Kelly's like $100 on Mark Andrews.
All of it.
All of it. I'm all in.
Mark Andrews.
All.
I'll just filter everybody in later.
I agree though, Kelly. I
Oh
agree
my
though.
gosh.
He's there's something just really so gorgeous about him.
There really is. He's
There really is.
a very nice specimen.
He is.
Oh my
I'm sure whatever guys are listening to this is like, oh, this is what we're going to talk about. Like we're going to talk about butts and guys and gorgeous and daddies but
Men, I apologize if you feel objectified right now, but welcome to our world.
We're not talking about them.
it's true.
No, but still. You're dang right.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, thank you for your permission, but we were going to do it anyway, regardless of whether or not you gave us permission. So, you're right, Zach.
Oh, dang it.
Where were you like 10 minutes ago, Zach? That's what happens with dudes. They're always like a day late and $1 short.
Yep.
It's like that
We're a
is
little-
a genius idea. Would have been better 10 minutes ago.
We're quicker.
We are quicker. Oh my goodness gracious. Whew, Lord.
I don't know what to say next.
I think we did it. I think we did it.
I feel like we've covered the gambit of things from serious-ish football questions and
Hot takes.
and
Hot takes.
Yeah.
Hot takes.
history of your fantasy football career, and we've landed right into hot guys.
Speaking of hot guys, Angie says I think buying hot guys online might be called something other than fantasy football, but fine, I'll be in your league.
You know how many girls want to be in our league?
Yeah,
Oh.
you were mentioning earlier with Josh and I before we went live about how we were all struggling to readjust into real life, including your issues that you were having with some cuts that you were making because of what you do. So tell the people what it is that you do.
I design very funky children's wear. I've been doing it for a very, very long time. I love what I do, but I also do one-of-a-kind specialty stuff. Like I can make like just really cool things that you can't find. Like I need to make some really cool Women of Fantasy football
I was
shirts.
going to say, so Kelly and I will be placing an order at some point.
Yeah, I'll make you guys some stuff. Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
So fun.
I'll definitely do something for you guys.
How did you get started with that?
Babe, she's deaf. So my old one, she's 17. So when she hears something, she barks because she can't really hear. So she like, thanks, baby. I'm sorry. We'll go back.
How did you get started making children's
Well,
clothes?
I started in women's wear.
Okay.
And a friend of mine whose daughter was a model. I was working in South Beach, where like was the whole fashion thing going on there. And she asked me if I could make all of the clothing that I was making in my woman's collection for her daughter. And it was really cool stuff. And I did. I made her like one of each thing. And then a children's buyer happened to see the clothes on her. And then he contacted me, and that was it.
That's so cool.
It took a turn to the children's wear market, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I can imagine, because with kids' clothes, you have like more
Freedom.
Yeah, because adults, you could have that same freedom, but it would be more of a niche market, because not everybody is as bright, as vibrant, and is just as wacky with their clothing. But kids love fun.
It's much more fun.
Speaking of fun, this whole interview has been really fun.
So fun.
And in true Women of Fantasy Football fashion and Trophy Smack fashion, and in true Kelly fashion, I actually am not going to be able to make our second interview, Faith, and I'm terribly sad, but it's going to be you and Lindsey in a one-on-one.
You and Lindsey. Well, Hope, before we let you go, first of all, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
We have a fan club in the comments, in case you didn't know. People love you.
Aww.
And for those watching who don't know where they can find you, but need to follow you because you just exude fun, tell the people where they can follow you.
Follow me on Twitter at highhope77, and we could be fun. We could be fun friends.
And keep an eye out, because if Hope decides to start her Hot Guys Auction League, you won't want to miss that.
Exactly.
You won't want to miss that. But don't draft Mark Andrews, or I will put a bit.
No, he's yours. I'm scared. I'm scared now.
You know what? It's karma. After you bullied Dynasty Deviant into not drafting Tyreek Hill, that's what Kelly will do regarding Mark.
Don't touch him. Touch my guy.
All right, Hope, thank you so much for joining us, and have a great evening.
Thanks. My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
And Faith, I'm sorry I'm abandoning you, but you know what? It's kind of fun, because I had a solo interview last week. You get a solo interview this week. I'm not sweating in a closet anymore.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for everybody.
I see it. Well, thank you for joining us for the first half.
And I'm gonna leave now.
Okay.
And Lindsey, I see you backstage,
you know
and let's bring her on. Bring her on.
Joshua.
Lindsey.
Lindsey, this is Kelly. Kelly, this is Lindsey.
Hi, Kelly.
So rude to interview and run.
I totally understand. You know what? Life happens. I'm just thrilled to be on. Faith and I can hold it down.
You're going to have an amazing interview.
We'll just spend 45 minutes talking about Tater.
Well, after that,
I can do that.
Plenty of Tater questions, and I'm sure Viking questions. And I love purple regardless of the team, so I'm sad I'm missing out on that bit. But I can't also wait to see who wins all the gear at the end of this.
Minnesota Vikings gear.
People are going to be tuning in.
It's almost like we planned to give away the Vikings jerseys the same time that we had Lindsey on. I mean,
didn't.
Good timing.
Not just a hat rack, my friends, to quote Joey Tribbiani.
All right. Bye, friends. Have a great interview.
Thanks. Bye, Kelly.
Bye, Kelly.
Lindsey, hi.
Hi,
I haven't
Faith.
seen you in like 2 months. It's so
I
weird.
know. So good to see you, even
You
virtually.
too. Yes, exactly. For those of you watching who are like, where did you see each other? How did that happen? Lindsey and I met in Nashville. So we kind of met in the middle of this country.
Mhm.
And we met at Galvanize, which also happens to be the beneficiary of our raffles. So that's super cool to have that in common, considering what all of this does. So first of all, how are you? How
I'm
is
good.
preseason going?
It's good. I feel like I'm kind of a hot mess hopping on here today after a long day at camp, but I love it. I love just coming as I am, and I'm good. Like, this time of year is absolute chaos. Chaos I love. Like, I love this time of year, but it's definitely one of those things where I don't know what day it is. Like, I multiple times today had to check. Because yesterday we had an off day because it was the players' off day, but it was also Tuesday. So I don't know. I just feel like time and calendars, like, I don't know what day it is, what time it is, but I'm doing well. And the Vikings preseason is going well. And we had our first joint practice today with the Titans. So speaking of Nashville,
Coach
but
Lucas.
yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Love her. I was so excited. So I spent the weekend in Ohio at the Fantasy Football Expo, which takes place at the Hall of Fame. And there's a small exhibit dedicated to women in football. And Coach Lokes, her shoes from the Super Bowl that she won with the Bucks, are on display.
Oh,
and I was like, hey, I met her.
That's so great. And I love that.
Fun.
I love that there's I know it's small, but small is better than nothing, and we're continuing to grow. And I love that there's a spot to recognize that. And
has to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Sarah Thomas's uniform is in there, all kinds of stuff. So for anybody watching who hasn't quite caught up to the game, Lindsey works for the Minnesota Vikings. She is their staff reporter. Hey now. So when did you decide that you wanted a career in sports, or did you ever really just decide it, or did you just like stumble on it?
It was something that like really intrigued me from a super young age. So I grew up in Minnesota. So I grew up watching the Vikings, Twins, Timberwolves. We didn't have a hockey team early on. Well, anyways, that's a longer story, but I really like fell in love with especially the Vikings and the Timberwolves as like a kid because my dad loves to watch sports. I have one sister who's 3 years younger, and at an early age, like I kind of found that time to have one-on-one time with my dad was like when he was watching sports. So it started out as something to do to like hang out with dad, but then like genuinely developed a really strong interest in it myself. And I can remember like watching games and seeing like Pam Oliver and Susie Colbert and all of those amazing women like on the sidelines or doing interviews, or like locally here we have Marnie Gellner, who is incredible, and she did a lot of work with the Timberwolves. And so like I thought that was so cool that women could do that, and I was really interested on, is that something that I want to do one day? But I never really wanted to be on camera. I just kind of knew that I wanted to work like in sports somehow. And then in high school and college, I loved writing. Well, I loved writing my whole life. Then in high school, taking English classes and stuff like that, really loved it. I went to a small Christian school, and so we didn't have a ton of like media opportunities. And so when I got to college, I was like, hey, I'm interested in sports journalism, but like I have zero taste in it. Like I worked on our high school yearbook, and that was about it. And so I generally am an introverted person and was actually a lot more introverted at the time. So I'm like, sports journalism, like, is that something that I'm even cut out to do? I have no idea. So I actually went into school, again, being very intrigued by it, but I was not like a journalism major or communications major. I actually just majored in English and writing. And so I took all kinds of writing classes, creative writing, grant writing, autobiographical, like all kinds of things, business, creative. And then it was my junior and senior year in school that I was able to work for the school paper. My senior year, I ended up working or interning, with the Timberwolves, which was incredible. And I feel like that was sort of the door that was like, okay, this is like what I want to do. I love it. It really confirmed all of those things for me and then sort of like set me on that path. So for a long, long time, it was something I was interested in and then wasn't really sure how that would work out. But everything did. And I've been here with the Vikings since 2015, which is crazy that it's been that long already, but I absolutely love it.
So growing up in Minnesota, I'm growing up a Vikings fan. How did that connection happen to be able to start working for the Vikings? And what was it like when you got that job? Because I can't imagine I can't imagine how I would be at 36 if I got that same position working for the Patriots.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't imagine.
It was crazy. So I am definitely a homebody. So I always but that being said, like when I graduated from college, I just assumed like I'm going to have to go work for like another team or a university or an outlet, like whatever that might be. And like, hopefully one day I'll kind of make it back to the Twin Cities because I would love to be here. I love Minneapolis and the surrounding area. And so I applied to jobs all over the place. I applied to some NFL teams, some NBA teams, some colleges, some newspapers and things like that. And nothing really full-time was coming to fruition. So during that time, I was doing some freelance work. I was working for Bleacher Report, doing some editing for them. And then Bleacher Report's format was a little bit different back at that time. It was like 2011. And so as an editor, I also could post some of my content, which was really cool. So it kind of gave me a platform. And I loved that opportunity. And sort of as all of that was going on, I went back to work at my alma mater, which was the University of Northwestern in St. Paul. And so I was running the writing and tutoring center there. And I liked being on campus and I liked working with student employees, but it just wasn't where my heart was. It wasn't what I wanted to do full time. And so I just kind of kept plugging away. I was working for a Vikings blog for a while. Like I said, I did some freelance pieces. I also was volunteering we have a store here in the cities. It's just called Fan HQ. It's like a sports memorabilia store. And they also have a YouTube channel, and I would help volunteer at their events. So when different like athletes would come in and do like autograph signings or appearances or something like that, I would volunteer and help out. And I'd do like a little 3-question interview with them. It was very like small scale, but I loved that Sean from the store kind of had me in to volunteer. I got to meet a lot of people. And it was actually through an event like that I got to meet one of our former Vikings players, and he had told me he had this community event coming up and asked me if I would want to come and cover it for the blog I was working for. And I was like, I'd love to, any opportunity. And so I went and covered it. And at the time, I had also reached out to somebody with the Vikings and just said, hey, like I'm going to, here's who I am. Here's some of my work. I'm going to cover this event. Like, I don't know if that's ever anything that you would want like help with or kind of a freelance piece on. And as, luck would have it, or I don't really believe in luck, but destiny would have it. They were like, you know what, we are kind of short staffed. We don't have somebody to go to that event. And so I kind of got a shot to like go cover it, send them in what I had written, see what they thought of it, and sort of just get like a one contracted piece with the Vikings, which was incredible. And then for the next 6 months, I did things sort of for them here and there. I was able to go and do some contract work for them again during training camp, just during the summer. And so that was incredible. And then in October, like early fall of 2015, they had hired somebody else to come into Vikings Entertainment Network and help grow the digital side of that department. And so they decided to hire 2 editorial positions, and I was able to go through, the whole interview process for that and get the job. And like, I know it sounds cliche, but it was honestly such a dream come true. Like, it was such a surreal moment. It was the day before Thanksgiving, and I called my dad. My dad had to be like the first one that I called. But I call him and I'm crying, and he's like trying to figure out what's going on. Like,
are you okay?
Right? Like, am I okay? Like, was there something? He figures out that I'm talking about the job, but then he thinks that I didn't get the job because I'm crying. And so I'm trying to tell him, no, I actually got the job. And so it was just like this really, really surreal moment. So I called my family. Another person that I called, I think the next day, was Ken Cook, and he was my 5th and 6th grade elementary school teacher. And he made such an impact on me during those grades through journal assignments that he had us do. And I remember there was one time where he had told me, I don't even remember like what the prompt was or whatever, but he was like, you know, you're like a very talented writer. Like, I could see you doing this someday. And like, as a 5th or 6th grader, to hear that from someone that's not a parent or like a sibling was so huge. And so it was really important for me to call him too, but it just felt like everything came full circle. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, it was such a dream to get the job. But if I would have gotten into with the organization and like not loved it or not loved the people, like all of a sudden it's not a dream job anymore. And I'm so blessed to say that, like, you know, 8 years in, like, it remains my dream job. I love the people that I work with. We're such a family. I love the organization. And to be here with a team that I grew up watching, grew up going to training camp, and now getting to say that I'm sitting in the building and I'm covering training camp is just, it's crazy to me, but I'm so, so thankful.
That's so awesome. I mean, it's like, I feel like, especially because you're a fan, a lot of people who probably get jobs for teams do what you did, who apply to other teams just trying to get a job somewhere. But to be able to write about the team that you grew up watching and grew up loving in your home state is just, I would probably, I don't know, how is it when you get to work every day? Like, do you still get out of your vehicle and go, I get paid to do this. I get to do this for a living.
I really do. And like, it's interesting that you brought that up, because a few weeks ago, it was a really long day at work, and, you know, it's like I had a headache all day, and like something didn't go as planned for a project that I was working on. And I was feeling like super discouraged and super just worn out by the time the day was over. And I like left the building and I was like, I just can't wait to go home. Like, I just want to eat dinner and see the dog and not think about work. And I like walked out to my car, and it was starting to get dark. And so I like just kind of looked up and saw the building and like where the Norseman is, and it just like kind of was a slap in the face of like, this is so crazy, like that this is my job. And even on a day where I'm like feeling worn out and I felt a little bit defeated for a minute, it's like, this is so surreal. And it's like, it's really influenced too, like how I want to impact. It's like anybody who wants to be a writer, but especially younger women who are interested in writing and working in sports. And like Faith, like that's what we talked about, being involved with Galvanize and the work that Laura does with younger women. And it's something that I'm so passionate about, because I've been in that spot where it's like, you think doors are just continually getting slammed in your face. Like, is something going to open up? Am I like following the right path? Is this really like what I'm meant to do? And when you do get the job that is your dream job and you're really doing what you love every day, like, hindsight is 20/20. And I talk to college students or young women like just getting out of college, and I'm like, you guys, when I was your age, like I felt the same way. Like I felt the roadblocks, I felt doors being closed, I questioned things. And now I look back, and I just turned 35, and I'm like, I was blessed enough to get my dream job when I was 27 years old. And at the time it was like, oh my gosh, like I had to wait 5 years after I graduated. But you know, it's like, you think about all those things, like those jobs I was so sad I didn't get. And now sometimes I wonder, like, what would have happened, like, if I would have gotten that job instead, or if I would have ended up there. And so I try to, like, never take it for granted, even on the hard days, because I love what I do and I love who I do it with. And I'm just like, I don't want to ever like lose sight of that.
I can't even. Yeah. What are words?
Girl, I feel you.
So you just talked about knowing how it feels to just stand there as door after door gets slammed. And when we met in Galvanize, your main topic of conversation was mental health. And I know a lot of girls struggle with mental health. A lot of people who are either trying to break into this space or who are in this space and are trying to ignore the people who are critiquing them, or trying to ignore the haters.
Yeah.
What is one tip? I know I'm throwing this at you. What is your like main go-to tip to try to center yourself and to try to like keep your mental health like alive and kicking when things get trashy or weird or whatever?
I do feel like there are a lot of different things I would suggest, but especially if we're talking specifically like in the workspace and in this area of like being a woman in sports, and that can definitely come with like its own set of challenges. The biggest thing for me has been to remember whose opinions matter the most, and to try to just tune everybody else out, and also like learn what that means for you. Like, there are definitely people who can go through and they can read the emails and read the DMs and read the comment sections and like have thick skin about it and move on. And like, that is not me. And I know that about myself. So like, I stopped reading the comment sections like on my stories. I very rarely go in and read the comment sections. Sometimes I do if it's a really unique topic or if I have some specific reason, but like for the most part, I just don't, because I noticed like my manager or a coworker or whatever could tell me like this really great thing about the story that I wrote, but I would see one comment like cussing me out or like throwing me under the bus or saying like what was wrong with it. And it's like, that's all I would focus on. And so for me, I have to remember, like, does my manager like the work that I'm doing? Like what do even outside of the building, like what do my friends or my family think of like the work that I'm doing and what I'm putting in, and like the type of person that I am, because that really has to be all that matters. And I'm not ashamed to say that I'm a sensitive person. Like, I am, and I know it. And so there are definitely times where I have to work on having thick skin. If there's something within the building of critiquing an idea or we're working together, like that's important to work on. But if it's just nameless people like throwing crap at you just to be mean or just to troll, like, don't look at it. It's just, there's no reason to look at it. You don't need it. It doesn't serve any purpose. Just don't look at it.
I think that's a great piece of advice for anyone, anywhere, whether you're male or female, whether you're in this space or not.
Yeah.
Is to learn whose opinions matter, remember whose opinions matter. And if they're not the ones giving their opinion, it doesn't matter. Because like you said, you're going to have some nameless, faceless troll saying something about what you're writing, but it's like, okay, when it comes down to it, what you said doesn't affect what happens, because if your manager likes it, you're going to get another assignment and you're just going to keep on going. And those comments are just, they blur off into the background.
Right. And if it is a situation where you have to sort of deal with it, try not to get offended and take the high road, I guess. Within my first few weeks of being here, I made an egregious mistake and I was so embarrassed. And I was writing a story about when we had played the Giants and we played Eli Manning. And in a paragraph in the story, I had accidentally typed Peyton instead of Eli. And it got past my editor's eyes too, and it got up on the website, and it's a mistake, right? Like there's no excuses that I can make for that. It's an egregious mistake. But somebody sent me an email, and it basically was like, what are you thinking? Like, you clearly don't know anything about football. Like, you should stay in the kitchen. Like I got one of those lines, you know, and I had to like swallow my pride and like send that person a message back and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. Thank you for catching this. Like, you know, I made some like joke about like Eli and Peyton, and I was like, we're correcting it. And then it was like, P.S. I'm one of the worst cooks ever. Like, you don't want me in the kitchen. And I just had to like live with it. And I think he even responded back something like, you know, touche, like, you know, and it was like, I had to own the mistake and fix it and move on. And like, don't let those people like live in your headspace, because I think we're cruel enough to ourselves without letting faceless 100%. People do it to us.
So I'm going to ask this last kind of serious thing, and then we need something fun to liven this up.
Yeah.
So Gator J just wants to know, on the subject of those doors that just kept getting slammed, what kept you going? Or like, how did you just not just let it get to you?
Yeah. So there were definitely a few different times where I had to have that like internal discussion, because like I said, at the time I was still working at my alma mater because I needed insurance and a regular paycheck and all of that kind of stuff. And so there were definitely a couple times where I was like, okay, like, am I just not going down the wrong path? Like, working at Northwestern, like, it's a good job. It's, you know, it's reliable. Like, is this just what I should do? And I, you know, faith is a big part of my world. And I know it's not for everybody. And so for me, I would say like, I definitely prayed about it. But every time I really questioned, there would be some sort of like, the door would just crack open. Like, even if it was a tiny little thing, like I would get an email from a mentor saying like, hey, you should talk to this person. Like, I think they could give you really great advice. Or maybe I got an interview for a job and I didn't end up getting it, but they said all of these really great things, and it kind of like built up my confidence. And so I felt like there were just kind of these things along the way where it would not only renew a little bit of confidence in myself, but also remind me like, no, like, this is what I want to do. I just can't give up on it. And the other thing that I would say too is I knew that what I wanted to do one day was to work for a team, but I was still applying to jobs that were not with the team. I was applying to some jobs that were like in social media, even though I knew that like down the road, what I wanted to do was write full time, because I didn't want to like completely back myself into a corner and not take a job that could be a really cool opportunity or a stepping stone to something else. So I would recommend that to people too. Like, definitely don't give up on your dream, but if there's something that comes along that maybe could be part of that dream or like a stepping stone, like, don't shut yourself off to that, because you just never know like when those opportunities will, you know, get you where you want to be.
That is fantastic. Now, on a lighter note,
yes.
Carrington wants to know, on a scale of 1 to Justin Jefferson, how good is your gritty?
Oh my gosh, you guys, I can't do it at all. I don't understand. To me, it's like the whole like patting your head and like rubbing your stomach. People are like, it's not hard. You just do these two things. I'm like, no, it's too much to think about. My manager has a 4-year-old daughter, and she just showed me her gritty the other day, and I was like, that's so much better than I can do. So I'm gonna go with like a 1.5. It's funny, really bad.
It's funny you mentioned your manager's 4-year-old daughter, because I still live with my best friends, and I have a 4-year-old nephew, and he'll just walk around the house and just like randomly throw his like legs and arms. He's like, "Is my gwitty? I got a gwitty."
And like, that's probably
you do you.
That might be what I look like, flailing arms and legs. Like, I know it's like this, but you can't like, so doing it seated when I just, yeah, there you go.
I just imagine the lower half is working in synchronization, and that was a perfect gritty Lindsey. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, we met in Nashville. We met at a Galvanize event. I know how I sort of remember how I got involved with Laura. I don't remember how I came upon her name. I remember reaching out to her, and the rest is history. But how did you get involved with Laura and with Galvanize?
Yeah, so like I said, I started with the Vikings in 2015, and that next year, 2016, I don't think it was her first year of Galvanize, but it was kind of among the first times that she was partnering with NFL teams to do camps. And it wasn't even quite done the same way as she's done it now, where she pairs Galvanize women with rookies and stuff like that. So it wasn't quite as fleshed out. But she came with some women to the Vikings organization, and they did a camp. And I was essentially assigned to like cover the fact that Laura Oakman was here, and she had brought these women that she was working with, and kind of the little workshop that she was doing. And so I had always admired Laura from afar, just for the work that she did on the sidelines, and like just always seemed very high character. But like I didn't know anything about Galvanize until she came in. Like I can remember kind of looking at the website before they came and chatting with her. But it was super cool to get to meet her in person. And I remember I kind of like sat in on one of their little sessions, and it was a lot smaller than it is now. So it was a pretty small group, and like sitting in on one of their sessions and getting to like hear Laura pour into like those women. But I really felt like I was part of the group too. And then she invited me to like just give a little bit of advice to the women in the room. And like, I remember feeling completely like unworthy to do that. Like, I just was like, oh my gosh, this is, and I had been there for like less than a year, but that was my first meeting with Laura. And then we had just kept in touch since then. And she's really been like mentor, friend, advice giver, mom, all of those things. Simultaneously, as I know she is for so many women, including Faith. So, yeah, I think it's really great to hear how other ladies have met her, and just how she has like that same impact on everyone. And it's life-changing.
Laura is one of those people that millions of people around the world have seen her on TV, have seen her on the sidelines, have seen her interview football players, have heard her call the Super Bowl every year. But yet what a lot of people probably don't realize is that if you, first of all, she'll give her phone number out to whomever.
Yeah.
Like, she's just like, here's my phone number. Call me. Josh is shaking his head in the background because she did it to him. And Laura's the first person to say, if you need to pick me up, if you are standing there and you've just got your fifth door slammed in your face, if you're going through a bout of imposter syndrome, call me, text me, reach out to me, and she will stop and take the time. Even if she is busy, she will give you as much time as she can to just remind you that no, you exist in this space for a reason. You have what people are looking for, and don't let anybody try to take it from you. Yeah. And so the amount of people that have gone through a Galvanize boot camp, our sisterhood is crazy. Laura had talked about it before I went to Nashville, but being in it and seeing it is a whole different thing. And it's it's amazing.
I could not agree more. Because I did one boot camp with her with the Chargers in 2019, and then I hadn't done a boot camp again until going to Nashville. But I thought the same thing. Like, I thought it was amazing, but like I didn't know if it was for me. And to me, I was like, I've never really been like a air quotes, like girly girl. I was never someone who had been on air or who had that experience. And I just like was really worried that like I wouldn't fit in. And I just wasn't sure if it would be my space and be my jam. And I always heard people saying like, it's life-changing, it's a sisterhood, it's a family. And I'm like, that's so cool, but like, is it really? And like, I'll admit, like, I was skeptical about it having that same effect on me. But I committed to doing it, and I went in just like wanting to get everything out of it that I could. And it's so true. Like, the sisterhood is so real. I have, women that I met during that Chargers boot camp that are still really close friends of mine. But then even, people that I had never met in person until Nashville, that I felt like we were friends just from connecting with each other, like on social media or what have you. And it's like, if this would have existed like when I was coming out of college, game changer, So I just encourage anyone, like, it doesn't matter what age you are. Like, if you want to become a part of an amazing sisterhood, have an interest in sports, are a creative, come.
And I think it's also important to note that, so you and I are about the same age. And so going into it, I was like, I know Laura has said anybody from like 25 to 55. Hearing it is one thing, seeing it is a whole different ball game. So, but still, I knew I was going to be on the older end. But then the other thing is I'm pretty well set in my job. I'm not looking to change careers. I'm not looking to go into sports journalism full time, sideline reporting. So my thing going into it was what I just talked about. It was this whole imposter syndrome. I don't want to do this full time. I'm not trying to change a career. I'm not. And I had a conversation with Laura about that beforehand, about like not fitting in because this isn't what I was like trying to do. And she was the first person to say that has nothing to do with anything. She's like, you like sports, you are looking to make some sort of impact on this world, whether it's with editing or even women of fantasy football. She's like, so come. She's like, don't say anything until you come. And I was like, she was right. Because
she's always right.
I was going to say Laura's always right. She's a mom to like 15 million women, and she's always right.
Yeah.
And I love her, but sometimes it's frustrating. Also, I don't know that there are many people who can make me cry on the phone as much as Laura Oakman. She's really good at that.
It's a secret gift.
It's a secret gift. It really is.
Like a hidden talent. Like, I don't know if it's on her resume or her Twitter bio, but it could be.
Really good at making people cry.
Yeah.
Okay, so another fun question that Josh added, I just noticed, Josh added to the document. What are your feelings on the color purple? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you over it? Are you indifferent to it?
Luckily, I do really like the color purple. When I first got hired, I also really enjoy the color green. I don't wear much green anymore. I like generally like cool, like I love purple, teal, turquoise is like probably my favorite color. But it's so funny because I've definitely had this conversation before. I like that there are only 2 like purple teams in the NFL, and being part of one of them. I went out to visit some friends in Maryland in July, and I have purple in my hair.
Yeah, you do.
And so many people thought that I would like had it purple for the Ravens since I was in Maryland. And I was like, oh yeah, they're purple too. But I have always said that like I really love purple.
Rain.
I also really like the Carolina Panthers uniforms because I love that color blue.
Yeah, that is a nice blue.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know what? Another fun question. Speaking of uniforms, what is your least favorite NFL uniform?
Oh, that's such a good one.
Mine are some color rush of some sort, or every color rush uniform.
I feel like, but I don't want to pick like an alternate. Well, I feel like, oh, this is so hard. So because I really like the Dolphins logo, but I really don't like the orange like teal combo.
Oh, yeah.
So I might go with that one. I'm always like so biased towards just like the colors that I like or like to wear.
There's not many that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's atrocious. Other than like color rush just because they hurt my eyes. But the creamsicle Bucks uniforms, it's like who thought that was a good idea?
They're really awful, but I kind of like the nostalgia of them. Like, I like that they come back every once in a while just for that. I think my least favorite, like, throwback one is it the Steelers that have the stripe?
Oh, wait, you mean the Steelers ones that Josh just said are terrible?
Oh, see, I don't mind. Well, the old school Eagles.
Which old school Eagles are you talking about? The old school. I'm guessing you're not talking Kelly Green, because Kelly Green is iconic.
Because I love the Kelly Green. Yeah.
The navy. Who had navy and yellow uniforms?
You know what? I didn't even know that existed, so we'll have to look that up. But it's whatever. Like, I don't really care about other teams as long as I get to wear. But so much that I own is purple. Like, when I do, like, obviously will have like black T-shirts that have like purple on them too, but like so much of my stuff is purple. Like, my roommate always gives me a hard time because the lint trap in our dryer like is purple. Like, we produce so much purple lint in our house.
So when does Tater get some purple highlights?
Oh my gosh, I would love that.
For those watching, Tater is Lindsey's golden doodle.
If anybody wants more Tater content, yes. I am always here for it.
Yes.
We taught her how to do the skull chant, which is kind of the Vikings like in stadium. But so that's like one of the proudest moments of my life is last preseason. She made it onto NFL Network for like 10 seconds.
Shut up.
It was the smallest clip ever, and it might be the proudest moment of my life.
Proud dog mom moment.
Yeah. But I probably will never color her hair, but I do like doing like the collars or
like little purple bows.
Yeah.
Or bandana.
And everyone always thinks that she's a boy. Because I like blue or turquoise or whatever, and so I don't she doesn't usually wear like a pink collar, but I get irrationally offended when people I'm like, her name is Tater, like, since when are potatoes masculine? Like, I didn't know that they were one or the other.
I didn't know potatoes were gender specific.
Oh, so anyways,
oh my gosh, that's funny.
I will always talk about Tater, and Laura might get a chance to meet Tater. If she covers a game this year in Minnesota, I want to make sure that she meets Tater. So stay tuned for that social media photo that I'm sure will happen.
Yeah, Josh and I are waiting for Laura to cover a Bucks game or a Dolphins game so that we can go hang out with her. Because, like I said, I got to meet her. Josh hasn't had the pleasure of meeting her yet, but also, how awesome would it be to go to a game and hang out with Laura Oakman?
She's just so great.
She's amazing. Lindsey, you're amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation with me, to answer some fun questions and some serious questions. Before we let you get back to the hard-hitting journalism of the Minnesota Vikings, let everybody know where they can find you, where they can read all of your amazing content, and actually also where they can find Tater content. Because everybody needs Tater content.
Thank you. So yes, I did put my Twitter handle up on the screen. So I'm at Lindsey MN Sports, and it is Lindsey with an E, the correct way to spell the name. But I would love if you guys followed me there. And even if you're not specifically a Vikings fan, like, I love writing just kind of humanizing, behind the jersey type of story. So I'd love if you followed my content. I also do some like mental health advocacy work on Twitter as well. My personal Instagram account is private because I share a lot of pictures of the littles in my life, but Tater does have an Instagram account. At Tater the Doodle, I think is what it is. But come and follow her. I also have, is that what it is, Faith?
I'm looking that up. Tater.the.doodle.
Yeah. Perfect.
I mean,
Look at her.
Look at her. Look at her. Everybody needs Tater.
So I better get some. I really hope Tater gets some more followers after this podcast. So
Yes. We need to increase Tater's social media presence.
Yes.
Let's get on this, people. Listen, if there are any things that like fantasy football people get behind, it's dogs, especially cute dogs. So let's make Tater famous.
Come hang out with us on Instagram. But no, in all seriousness, Faith, thanks for having me on. This was super fun, and I love the mix of, like you said, some serious and some fun stuff. And if anybody isn't already following Galvanize or Laura, like let Faith and I be her #1 champions. You really need to.
Absolutely.
Men, women, like check out what she's doing. It's great.
Yes. Like Laura says, women in sports are working hard and are doing half the battle, but we are stronger with the men who are behind us and who champion us, because it makes the fight just a little bit easier. So, 100%. And I know that there are a handful of guys in these comments and in these chats that are behind us 100%. Josh is one of our biggest supporters. And so you will find, if you're struggling to find those people, reach out to me, reach out to Josh. Honestly, reach out to Lindsey, because we can hook you up with a sisterhood and a group of people that will just back you up 100%.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better. Totally.
Lindsey, thank you so much. I loved this chat. I loved getting to see you again. And now it is up to you. We have some signed. I was like, words are hard. We have some signed jerseys to give away. We have an Adrian Peterson jersey, and some guy. His last name is Jefferson.
Justin. Yeah.
You know. And so for that, I'm going to add this guy. So
hello, Lindsey. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Like the galvanized hat repping.
I had to rock it. So when we were in Canton this weekend, Faith surprised me because it was my birthday on Monday. And
happy birthday.
Well, thank you. And she gave me the galvanized. Shut up, Faith. Been reminded of this for like 4 days now. So
you've been reminded of this for like a year.
Well, that too, yeah. But and I'm like, you know what? There's no better place to debut this hat than right here on this show with our partnership with Galvanize for all of our jersey raffles. So
like I was going to say, Lindsey, you can hang out with us as we do this. You can hop off, whatever you want to do. I totally understand.
I want to see who wins.
All right, cool.
All right. Okay. So let's see. I get to pull up some screens here. Let's see. Window.
I asked our good friend Dennis if he was going to buy some tickets, and then he laughed at me. The thing you need to know, Lindsey, is that Dennis is a Green Bay Packers fan.
Oh, I've got some thoughts.
So before we spin the wheel, so I want to give kind of a little update. So last week, we gave away a signed Jonathan Taylor jersey and a signed Nick Chubb jersey.
Okay.
And that first week, we were able to raise $530.
That's amazing.
This week, we more than doubled that. $1,110 just this week.
Yes.
Whoop, whoop.
I love that, you guys.
The single biggest week of fundraising we have ever had during our Women of Fantasy raffles. So shout out to Lindsey for being part of the Vikings and this marketing perfectly. Shout out to each and every person in the chat that tunes into these shows. Shout out to every person that's ever watched any of the WOFF podcast. Shout out to every follower of Women of Fantasy Football on the socials. Shout out to everybody that has shared, liked the posts, bought raffle tickets. Seriously, we could not do this without any of you. Male, female, child, adult, whatever.
Golden
we
Doodle.
love you. We appreciate you. And, puppies like Tater. Can't do it without you. So this week, so far, we have raised $1,640. And we still have 2 more weeks of raffles to go.
Oh, that's amazing.
Those
Okay.
smacks.
Without
Hey, Josh,
further ado,
This
let's
first
see.
one, who is this for?
This
Is
is
this AP or
Adrian
JJ?
Peterson.
AP.
Who gets the Adrian Peterson jersey?
Spinny.
I'm nervous. I don't even know who these people are.
James.
James.
Besson.
I got to figure out how to ship that to Canada now.
Hey?
Hey, listen, we have a big Vikings fan contingent in Canada, and we appreciate you guys. So congrats, James.
Good job,
No, that's
James.
fantastic. Yeah, James came through today. I believe he bought 25 tickets towards Adrian Peterson. So
I wonder
very
if he's
appreciative
part of
of
that
that.
huge Vikings fan contingent in Canada.
it could very well be.
This is just me being curious. So could they decide which raffle they like?
They can, yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah,
When they
that's the
bought
whole
their
idea.
tickets, it
You
was,
tell
I
us
want
which.
AP or I want JJ.
Some people
Okay.
will say, you know what, I'm buying 10 tickets, split them evenly. That's cool too.
I'm sorry, does that say entries 151?
151 tickets bought for Justin Jefferson jersey.
Ryan
And I want-
Svensson.
There's
him.
been some people, and I tell you, there were some people that bought a massive load of tickets. And I want to give a huge shout out to a great friend of not only Women of Fantasy Football here at Club Fantasy, you and me, Faith, Mr. Howard Bender came through with 40 tickets today.
Oh,
So-
that's awesome.
He has lit up this wheel, and I still don't know that it's enough.
So there's a name on here that I see, Ryan Swenson. So Ryan, I drafted live with Ryan in Los Angeles. I'm 99.9% sure it's the same person because it's a Justin Jefferson jersey. So we had a silent auction at our Scott Fishbowl live draft at Trophy Smack, and there was a Justin Jefferson Trophy Smack like belt, like a wrestling belt, Lindsay, but it had like an engraved picture of Justin Jefferson that JJF signed. And
Oh, cool.
one of our friends in the space had a video. He actually went and got the belt signed. And so Ryan was the winner of that silent auction.
Oh,
so
that's so cool.
I can only imagine that this is him. And that would
Well,
be
we're
great
going to
too.
find out who wins
Let's-
the Justin
do
Jefferson
it.
jersey. So without further ado, let's spin it. 151 tickets. Woo! Coming through. Love it.
I won't be able to see.
I was
this
going to say, I
until
can't
it
even
pops up.
see. What do you know?
Oh my goodness.
He beat the odds, and I say that because he owned most of the wheel.
I'm happy for
Congratulations.
that. Congrats, Howard.
Oh, that's amazing. Again, shout out to everybody that contributed. I appreciate all of you. The jerseys are right here. I got to go through, fill out some thank you cards, and ship everything out. So there's that. Now,
I should have.
yes, I am old school. I send people thank you cards when they win these jerseys. And
Oh
I'm
my
okay
gosh,
with that.
I love snail mail. That's just one more thing about
Right?
me, anyways.
I love it. All right, so
I should have given you some WOFF stickers to put in those jerseys. when
I was
you
going to say,
shipped
because I
them.
only have like 2.
I have like
That's it.
200.
And I've got to ship out last week's jerseys because I've been gone all weekend. So
The
first
nerve.
up,
You couldn't
next
just
week-
brought them with you.
whatever. Anyway, so officially live on womenoffantasyfootball.com. You can go to the website. You can click on the graphic with the jersey giveaways. We are giving away a signed Saquon Barkley Giants jersey. And
Very cool.
this very oddly packaged, it is a CeeDee Lamb signed Cowboys jersey. So,
Those are good ones too.
right? Oh,
Yeah.
and I like to think that I saved the best for last, but we announced that on next week. So,
Okay, I'll keep.
all
an
right,
eye out.
everybody, $5 tickets. Say a signed Saquon Barkley jersey, signed CeeDee Lamb jersey. Again, can't thank you all enough. We're on pace right now to shatter what we did last year for these raffles. So
This is awesome.
It's
Keep 'em
always
coming.
fun being able
keep them coming.
to call Laura and give her that. Hey, I know this is what we said that we usually raise because she just asked for a number when we started this partnership. So I know that this is what we told you, but we didn't raise that much. It was like 3 times as much as that. So It's always fun to make that.
That
phone
makes me
call.
happy.
And hey, and I know both of you were there. Shout out Katie Caldwell. She was the first official
Yes,
scholarship
she
recipient.
was.
So
Mhm.
this
Katie
is-
was my
this is
room.
what we do.
Katie was my
Good.
roommate for the Chargers camp.
There you go.
So love her.
I'll have to
love her.
text her and send her the episode. We've gotten to know each other quite a
Yes.
bit when Laura introduced us. So
Yeah,
no,
awesome.
love Katie to death. She's an absolute doll.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. I'll pop off. Faith, you can wrap everything up, and there we go.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sticking around for that. Next week we have Minty Betts, who is Yahoo Sportsbook, and she does UFC betting. And we have former content creator turned content consumer, Jen Smith. And like Josh said, we are raffling off a CeeDee Lamb jersey and a Saquon Barkley jersey, that if you were a fan of either of those teams, you don't want to miss that. For myself, at FF_leap of faith. For Lindsay, at Lindsay with an E, the right way to spell it. MN Sports. Follow Lindsay for Vikings content. Go find Tater on Instagram for all of the cute dog content. Follow Women of Fantasy Football at women_FF on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter. I think that's all of the places that we are. We add new ones randomly at like midnight. Josh texted me. He was like, "Hey, can you create a YouTube account for WOFF?" And I was like, "Sure."
Tomorrow.
So thank you, Lindsay, for joining us. For Hope earlier, for Kelly. Have a great week, everybody. We will see you back next week. And Josh, roll that beautiful bean footage.